What's up, guys? I'm Jared from TotalGuitarMastery.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how to fret notes on a guitar. We're going to talk about 4 specific mistakes that you want to avoid with fretting notes. So first of all, this is just a fundamental lesson. This applies to you whether you're a beginner or you're a more experienced player. This was something that even after I had been playing guitar and taking lessons for like 2, 3, 4 years, I still didn't really understand this one fundamental thing. I had to come back around to how to fret notes with my left hand. I would use too much force. I would make some of these 4 mistakes that you're about to see right now. I would make these mistakes a lot. So I'm going to show you how you can avoid these 4 mistakes. All right, let's check out what they are first of all. So the first one is playing in the front of the fret. So if you play in the front of the fret, that means that you're towards the fret wire that's closest to the sound hole or the bridge on your guitar. So the back wire, the back of the fret would be towards this direction, towards the headstock on your guitar. So a mistake I would make is I just play anywhere in there. I would think like any place in the fret is good. And what happens is if you play too far back in the fret, you get a buzz. And that's just because you have to use a little bit more pressure on the note when you go more back in the fret. You have to push down a little harder. Even then, I'm still getting a little bit of buzz. These are some old strings too that I gotta change. But when you go to the front of the fret, a lot of that buzz goes away. Okay, and that's just because you don't have to push as hard when you're at the front of the fret. So that's the first mistake to avoid, is always playing in the back of the fret instead of the front of the fret. Now the next thing that you want to avoid doing is playing on the tips of your, not playing on the tips of your fingers. So a lot of people will play on the pads of their fingers, and it'll look like this when you play on the pads of your fingers. You're more like that rather than right on the tip of the finger like that. See the difference? If I'm on the pad, I have to kind of flatten my finger. A lot of times you'll see people's fingers bend like that. See, that's why their fingers bend, because they're trying to play on the pad of the finger, and then that makes it all uncomfortable and weird and awkward. So what you want to do is be right on the tip of your finger, like that. It's a lot better. Same thing for chords. You don't want to usually be flat. You don't want to be on the pad of the finger when you're trying to play a chord. You know, you want to be right on the tip of the finger. Okay, so that's the second thing to avoid. Don't play flat. Try to play on the tip of the finger. The third thing to try to avoid is playing with too much tension. A lot of people just use too much force as they try to play notes on guitar. And I did this all the time, probably the first few years that I played. And the reason why we do this a lot of times is because when you're first trying to play guitar, you're trying to put so much pressure on the string just to get it to ring out. A lot of times we don't have calluses in our finger. It's all brand new, and we're just trying to get the note to actually ring out. So what happens is, because we're just trying to get that note to ring out, we put any amount of pressure that we can into it. We put all our force and all our strength into it. And it becomes a habit. You get used to playing notes like you got a vice grip. And so what we want to do is get to this place where we can go a little lighter with the notes. You can do this simple thing where you just keep playing the note and then let up on the pressure and then add a little bit back. just enough to get the note to ring out, right on the tip of your finger. Just enough to get the note to ring out, nothing extra. That's different than like, you know, really pressing super hard all the way up through it. That doesn't help anyone. So that's the third. That is the third tip, playing with too much tension. The third thing to avoid is playing with too much tension. The fourth thing to avoid is fingers flying away from the guitar neck. So what you don't want is you don't want your fingers flying away after every note that you play, like this. What happens with that for people is once they play the note, they're just trying to get their finger off the note and they flick it away like that. Even if it's not going that far away, they just kind of put tension back into the finger after they play the note, and that happens for each finger. What we want to do is just relax off of each note. That makes it so much easier. See, my fingers don't have to, they don't have to do all that stuff. Okay, that's the fourth thing, fingers flying away. So try to avoid those 4 fretting hand mistakes, and you'll be able to fret notes on a guitar a lot easier for chords, for scales. You know, play in the front of the fret rather than the back of the fret. Play on the tips of the fingers rather than on the pads of your fingers for most things. And try to lower the amount of tension that you use when you play so that you're not like doing a chokehold on the guitar, trying to beat it down with all your force and all your strength. We don't need all that. You just need the strength of like a little 3-year-old girl to play the guitar, really. It's just like in the tips of your fingers, barely pushing in, just enough to get the note to ring out. And then try to avoid your fingers flying away from the guitar after every note that you play. If you avoid those things, I guarantee you it's going to be a lot easier for you to fret notes when you play guitar, whether that's scales, chords, whatever that you want to do. So if this video was helpful for you, leave me a like below and tell me what's your favorite, or not your favorite, but like your worst struggles that you have with your fretting hand. Which one of those mistakes that we were just talking about do you run into the most? Is it that you always play in the front of the frets, you play on the tips of the fingers, you play too much tension? You know, what is it that you deal with that we talked about here in this video as far as mistakes with your left hand? Let me know in the comments down below, and also subscribe for more videos like this. I'm going to be putting out more free lessons, free content like this, so if you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell to be told about more of them.